Hello, senior students. One thing I love looking at in terms of literature is how you can tell a story in a non-traditional style. Something that's not a book as we know it, and yet is still capable of telling a narrative story. I like looking at pieces that are written as a series of letters or diary entries, a series of recipes, a series of multiple choice questions. There's a great short story that's written in nothing but checks. And from who the check is written to and how the amount and the reason why, you can piece together an entire story. So this one is a fun little story that's written in nothing but promotion reports about a Chinese man who lived in the 20th century and went through the communist era. So, you can see they're written from the personnel office and then the Bureau of Culture Party Committee. In this case, it's 1958. Take a look at the date first and see what happens to this guy. Li Male, 25, graduate of Beijing University Department of Chinese Literature, began writing at the age of 20, more than 20 stories published to date. This comrade, note the use of the word comrade. This very communist term, how it translates in English for my brother. We are all equal, comrade. This comrade has demonstrable leadership qualities. Okay, so something really, really good. Let's put a nice check mark by it. Yay, good quality. Recommend promotion to head of literature section from the personnel office, July 1958. And the Bureau of Culture Party Committee responds back and says, obviously someone with potential should be actively cultivated. Send down to the grassroots for a period of training and see how he performs. So they've noticed his potential. However, back in those days, this is even before the Cultural Revolution, he needs to have training in what you call the grassroots things. They would put them on farms out in communes and have them connect with, the lowest of the low working class. So here is why his promotion is denied. They're going to watch him, and yet he needs more training at the grassroots level to become less of an intellectual and more in tune with workers. Okay, let's look at the date on this one. It's 1964, right in the middle of the Cultural Revolution. Li Male, 31, assigned to Bureau of Culture upon graduation from college, sent down as a factory worker. So he wasn't sent as a rural worker, he was sent as a factory worker in 1959. In addition to assigned jobs, wrote many literary works that reflect daily life and worked with a group of amateur writers. Okay, let's do some nice checks on that. Let's see. He wrote many literary works that reflect daily life. He would be chastised for writing anything that was against communism, but anything that promotes real workers' life, helping amateurs, endowed with a strong sense of professionalism and organizational skills. Check, check. Recommend promotion to head of factory culture section. Personnel Office, September 1964. Although this comrade has strong professional abilities, he remains deficient in his political studies, too much the intellectual. Continue to evaluate. Okay, so put a frowny face by, he's too much the intellectual. The Cultural Revolution were attacking anybody who seemed too smart. He didn't seem to be politically rightist enough, politically communist enough. And notice how the people who got to decide was the Factory Party Committee. Inside your work, you had little groups of people who would decide and evaluate the people in the company as to whether they were black anti-communist or communist. So you read about how in the schools they would have these red guards determining which students were good communists and which weren't. The same thing in the factories, and the Factory Party Committee got to make decisions like that. Fascinating, but sad. Then what happens to him? Li Male, 46, graduated in Beijing in the 1950s. After graduation, served as cultural worker in a government office in a factory, labeled a counter-revolutionary during the Cultural Revolution. Verdict overturned in 1978. Now that the new dictator's in power, people who were anti-communist are now being pardoned. Assigned at his own request to teach language and literature at the factory school. Based upon impressive publication record, that looks good to me, And years of specialization, cool. Recommend assignment as chief editor of Workers' Literature. But again, it's the Factory Party Committee turns him down. This comrade's professional level is commendable. Yay, check. Unfortunately, he is not a party member. He hasn't actually joined the Communist Party. And it's inappropriate to assign someone outside the party as chief editor of a party-supported literary magazine. Factory Party Committee, March 1979. So he joins the party. Lily Male, 51, college-educated, joined the party in 1982, has maintained faith in the party for more than 30 years, even though he wasn't a member, under a range of circumstances, and has written many influential literary works. Cool, cool, cool. Has rich practical work experience, advanced cultural and literary cultivation, and keen organizational skills. Recommend assignment to Cultural Bureau as Vice Commissioner from the Cultural Bureau Party Committee, April 1984. This comrade is indeed a rare talent. However, given the current demand for more youthful cadres, he must be considered too old. It's too late for him, he's too old. And therefore inappropriate for a position of this leadership. Ministry of Organization. So we learned about that in Eric Lee's video, how the Chinese government and its one-party system was organized into a ministry that you can, and now they are the ones judging his advancement. So no matter what stage of life he was in, it was the wrong timing and the wrong government political movement happening, so that he missed out on all of his promotions. He was denied. But it's fascinating that there was such, a difference in what they were looking for, what they wanted, and then finally to be rejected because they're too old and there's a lot more youthful people, is a picture of, number one, what communists did to a person, and number two, how you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time, wrong political culture, etc. The end.